their calendar is full, they have a real wait list, and the owner is still drowning. And here's the part nobody says out loud. Being fully booked is not proof that your practice worked. It's proof that everything still runs through you. It means one person is one bad night away from the whole thing falling. If you're booked solid, but still doing everything yourself, here's why more hours will never actually fix it. And this is actually what does fix it. Every decision, every client, every handoff, every hire, and it has to be put out by you by 7 p.m. at night. It all lands on the same set of shoulders. So when you try to grow, you're adding weight to that one person who's already carrying the whole thing, and that's you. So the answer was never work harder inside that room. The answer is to change what the room runs on. And what I want to walk you through is the same system that let big operations run smoothly and run inside a small practice. You know, you don't need a huge team or a huge budget, and you need the machine built, but at your own scale, at your size. So let's start with the core of it all, the flywheel. A flywheel is really just a set of repeatable steps where each turn makes the next turn easier. And instead of the practice leaning on your effort and every single day, it builds momentum on its own, and you start seeing it to rotate. Now, picture a heavy flywheel on the shop floor, and it's getting hard to push it, right? But once it's spinning, it holds its own speed. You see it rotating. You probably even think of wind turbines when they just keep going, right? They keep that momentum, they help each other push, and the power starts to generate on its own. Now, for your practice, that wheel is simple. You need to attract the right clients, right? You deliver repeatable results, you retain them, you refer them, but even more important is the inside operations. You want to make sure you're no longer that bottleneck. You want to have clarity first at the top of the wheel. You want to be clear on what you're building and that vision. Next thing, you want to look at your capacity, right? Do you have enough team members? Do you have to take care of the clients? Are you low staffed? Do you need managers in place? And then following that, you're also going to need care. How do you care for them within your business? Yes, there's more than one way to provide care, but what do you do that brings success to your clients, that makes them feel better, right? Because you're doing this for the people. So what has been proven for you, and can you teach that to your team, all right? Can you actually trickle that down from you and not let all the weight be on you and rely on your team to provide great service as well? That way your business is growing at multiples and no longer just addition. And then you as a CEO, how do you transition your role? That energy you have is all you have, and there's not more of it. However, you can use it more conservatively and more strategically to grow your business and see leaps and bounds. Now, this first step I want to give you is actually you want to write the recipe down, all right? You're in the kitchen. All this stuff lives in your head. How you do billing, the scheduling, how frequent you want to see your clients, how frequent do you need to see them, your intake process, the way your admin or you reach out to your team. This all lives in your head. We need to get it out of your head and written down. So intake, same every time. The sessions are standard, and retention becomes real at that point because your clients know what to expect. They know what care looks like, and they know what they're getting out of the services within your business. Also, your team has the confidence to actually do this as well because you gave them a guide and a recipe to follow. You can't expect people to make your special, mine's mac and cheese, so your homemade mac and cheese without even giving them the recipe. Yes, we know cheese is in it, we know macaroni's in it, but what else makes it taste like that, right? How can they do it? How can they replicate it? So I want you to take some time to actually write that stuff down. Anyone on the line should be able to follow the steps as you put them and provide the great services. Now, you also want to delegate outcomes and not tasks. I think we've made the same mistake in the beginning where we're delegating tasks. And the problem with delegating tasks is that you make your team dependent on you rather than them depending on the skills that they have, the reason you even brought them on their team. Rather let them be resilient and execute at their strengths. And you end up micromanaging if you do that. We don't want to micromanage, right? You have so much time in a day. You can't give them a task and watch over their shoulders every 24/7. Now in the beginning phase, when you show them how to do something, you want to delegate the outcomes. So yes, at first, hey, this is how you do this. Take some notes of you watching me do it, and then I want you to do it, following your notes. And at that point, watch them over their shoulders, correct them immediately. All right, you got the process down. But you don't want to always do that. You just want to give them an outcome-based goal, not task-based. So outcomes could be, hey, you're not keeping clients long enough, right? I want you to focus on client retention and delivering great service. Not, I want you to make sure you're scheduling them every day or at least twice a week, because now you're watching their schedule. Micromanaging, when you micromanage, you're basically doing the job twice. Well, why would you, one, pay for someone to help you just for you to end up doing their job as well? And the job that you need to do to keep growing your business as the founder, the owner, the CEO. It doesn't make any sense, so let's not waste time doing it. And also, I want to change the idea of capacity being equal to hours. Who said that? Capacity does not equal hours. Time is probably one of the most valuable assets we have, right? Not money, anything else. It's like time, purpose, vision, all grouped in one. And you have to realize that your time is valuable and your capacity is the amount you can deal with before burning out. And that doesn't equal how many hours. Yes, you're used to doing 10-hour shifts because to get your licensure and become a doctor, psychologist, therapist, you had to get so many hours and you got trained into conditioning yourself all these hours, but it doesn't even equal success. So you want the line that runs, you want the line to run, but you just watch the outputs, right? We're gonna look at the outputs, what did well, what didn't, reassess, readjust those things. And another thing to touch on is real hiring is about leverage that you hand over the outcome. And the system to hit it, not a list of chores you have to inspect. A good leader doesn't stand behind the driver telling them when to turn, when to add salt. They hand over what route to take, or they hand over the recipe. And they get themselves out of the seat. Your business is like an airplane. You have a pilot, you have stewardess, you have a co-pilot, and you have passengers. The pilot's job is not to go back there and put on someone's seatbelt. It's for them to make sure they get from point A to point B. Co-pilot is also to help manage that point A to point B. If the pilot put the plane in autopilot, went back there mid-flight to check on you and asked if you wanted a Coke, ginger ale, how would you feel? Yeah, you wouldn't feel secure and safe. That's how you should feel about your business. So this is the moat that you need to build and that foundation there. So when you bring someone on, you just hand them that recipe. It's already wrote down, you give it to them, and you look for the outcomes, you adjust them, you give them coaching and direction based on the results and how they did. You don't micromanage it. And when you do that, something shifts. Delivery runs without you, people run without you, and now you can watch the whole thing just move on its own. You start seeing it turning. Okay, without you being there. Now you have more time to go spend with your family. You have time to go take that date night with your wife, your husband. You have time to have quality time with your kids, right? We get sucked in business to do things that we lose the why while building. So I don't see there's a need to do that. I built this alongside my family, which I think is truly special, but also just to show that it is possible. You don't have to lose what really matters to build something great and successful. Yes, you have to make sacrifices, but it doesn't have to come to the expense of your marriage or your kids, right? Or even your faith. You know, for me personally, it's God first. And then secondly, the spouse and my wife that I chose to marry is like of greatest value in my kids. So in that order, I don't want to prioritize or ever put business and such in front of them. You know, I am building for my children's children, but I'm building it with them. Alongside them, they're seeing me do this real time. Now, when the flywheel becomes that repeatable process and the team, they're all connected, the practice actually becomes a machine that carries capacity you no longer have, and you don't have to have it. And personally, capacity is the whole game. Capacity is not how many hours you can grind. It's how much your practice can produce without you actually being the engine. All right, you don't want to be that engine. You are the founder. You want to leave it at that. Create the playbook and let them run the play. Coach from the sidelines. Be the owner of the team, right? Think of it as an assembly line versus a workshop. You have everyone functioning. Someone's good at this area, another person's good at this area, but you're not gonna have someone who is putting piece A together and is great at being piece A. They've been doing it for a year and a half and put them over to piece B. It's nice to have someone who can do both, but you don't want to muddy the roles and confusion. And here's the part that surprises people. You know, the calm practice owner and the drowning one, you know, they're not different kinds of people. One of them just sat down and built a machine that allows them to focus on what really matters to them. And that's it. Same hours in a day, you know, the same size team, sometimes smaller. And the difference is really just the leverage that they built by putting these systems into place and creating that flywheel. Now, here's what I want you to do this week is I don't want you to try and build all of it at one. Pick one and turn of that wheel, do that. And the one I want you to pick is depending on where you're at in your stage. And so a lot of people I find with clients I work with is clarity issue. They're not clear on what they want to do and offer and build. That vision's a little blurred. And so it's hard to direct people when you're not clear on the vision. You want to offer all these different services within your therapy business. However, you've only been great at providing great therapy. You've never done medication management. So we want to start and get clear on what is the goal long term, and then you build for that. And I want you to take one process that's in your head and actually write it down. Like, this is about action and making action and changes. That way you can relieve yourself and grow to that next level. So think of one process that you have. I want you to write it down, write down the steps of how you do it at a high level, and that way you can hand it off. And if you really want to go crazy, you can type it or transcribe it and speak it into Claude and AI and allow it to take note of this for you so it can make it nice and pretty for you. And you just save much time on that right there. And that should save you at least a couple hours this week, just doing that one thing. If you want the calm, repeatable version of ownership instead of the drowning version, that's really why I'm creating these videos. So watch out for the next one on the clinical flywheel. So I want you to be ready for that next video so I can tell you how to actually put this all into place and actually get that wheel to have some motion. All right, this is the first part where we're putting that wheel on. Now we need to get it spinning. So see you in the next one. Let's build businesses without sacrificing faith, freedom, family.